Peter Parker has been Spider-Man for over 60 years, and in the Spider-Man films, several actors have donned the mask. All of them made a good Spidey, but Tom Holland is about to put the great into great power and great responsibility. Want to find out what Spider-Man Homecoming's doing better? Watch our video and find out. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
I hate this song!
Including subscribing to CBR's YouTube channel. With great information comes great videos, and CBR brings you them first. Subscribe today.
You have a metal arm? That is awesome, dude!
Casting. Fans of Spider-Man love the fact that Peter Parker is relatable to them. He's just a teenager with everyday teenager problems. Girls, school, and bullies like Flash Thompson. He just so happens to have been bit by a radioactive spider which caused him to casually wake up one day with the ability to crawl on walls. Hashtag happens, bro. The problem is, thus far, every on-screen Peter Parker has been eligible for AARP. We're exaggerating a bit, a tiny bit, but full-grown adults have been cast as the young hero. Tobey Maguire was 27 when he played your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, strutting around high school with his fellow 20-plus-year-old buddies James Franco and Kirsten Dunst. Andrew Garfield was even older by a year or two when he donned the red and blue spandex. Enter Marvel Studios, co-producing the film with Columbia Pictures, and we get an actual teenager to play a teenager.
Spider-Boy.
Amazing idea, we know. Not only did they choose right by going young, but Holland has received rave reviews from the trailer and his work in Captain America Civil War.
Well, I could have stuck the landing a little better. It's just a new suit. Wait, it's nothing. Mr. Stark, it's perfect.
Costume. In typical fashion, Peter attempted to make his own outfit, and in Homecoming it appears to be some nifty but highly unfashionable blue and red sweats. But if you want to act the part, you have to look the part, and thanks to Tony Stark, Peter's going high-tech in his newest film. Spider-Man has had many costumes and has 60-plus years of patrolling the neighborhood. In the beginning, he mostly made them himself. While some had mechanical web shooters and some had web wings, they've all been classic red and blue. Some fans have been a little upset about the smart suit that Stark gives Spider-Man in Homecoming, but we think that the updated threads are a superior idea. Peter Parker isn't flowing in cash, but what he lacks in money, he makes up in courage. Since he can't afford a super tailor, and Tony Stark loves to invent, it's going to be amazing to see what extra little abilities this version of Spider-Man gets. It also makes sense that Peter would tinker and update his new suit using his own ideas.
I can't go to Germany.
Why?
I got homework.
High school. By going back to the core of what makes Spider-Man one of the world's best superheroes, Marvel needed to make their newest Peter Parker a believable one. If he's going to be a high school student, he needs to act like one. Not only that, he needs to represent the audiences of today. When walking around school, he can't have a giant camera slung over his neck. He'd assuredly receive even more finger-pointing and stares than usual. Tom Holland's version of Peter Parker has nailed what today's teenagers are like. From his excitement at simply meeting who he admires like Tony Stark, to his live streaming of the airport battle from Captain America Civil War. If you saw superheroes battling, even if you were one, you'd quickly hit record too. Having Spider-Man use social media to spread awareness about him is just in line with the snap-booking and face-chatting youths of today.
That you're wrong, you think you're right, that makes you dangerous.
Villains. In the movies, Spider-Man has battled many foes over the last 2 decades and handful of films. Tobey Maguire fought the Green Goblin, played by Willem Dafoe, with vicious glee and a somewhat silly outfit. Dr. Octopus took a swing at the Wallcrawler next. Played by Alfred Molina, his performance was well received by fans and critics. Maguire's third outing as Spider-Man added a few more villains, including Venom, along with the Harry Osborn Goblin. When Parker got rebooted and Andrew Garfield joined, he took on the Lizard, Electro, Rhino, and another Harry Osborn Goblin. In the newest incarnation, with Holland as Parker, he finally gets to engage wits with Adrian Toomes, better known as the Vulture. He's one of Spider-Man's longest tenured villains, appearing in the second issue of The Amazing Spider-Man in 1963. He's played in Homecoming by Michael Keaton, who's no stranger to superhero films.
And yet it's...
Lights out! Now you want to get nuts! Come on, let's get nuts.
He starred as the Caped Crusader, Batman, in 2 films. Keaton is playing this version of the Vulture as a dark Tony Stark, a smart man with a bad plan, using alien technology from previous Marvel films to build weapons, inducing his famous winged suit. It seems a little Birdman-esque. Maybe he likes playing avian comic book characters.
That's good, I gotta get him back.
You're going home or I'll call Aunt May. You're done.
Mrs. Stark, wait. I'm not done, I'm not...
Team up. Robert Downey Jr. is featured heavily in the marketing for the newest Spider-Man movie. He's the one who first brought the young man he affectionately called Underoos to the adult table in Captain America Civil War, hooking him up with a fancy new suit, hitting on his aunt, and then flying him to an airport in Germany to match wits and make quips with the who's who of the Avengers, including Steve Rogers, the Captain himself. He holds his own in the battle, taking down Paul Rudd's Ant-Man in Giant Man mode, using a life lesson found in a galaxy far, far away.
You ever seen that really old movie? Empire Strikes Back?
Jesus, Tony, how old is this guy?
I don't know. I didn't carbon date him. He's on the young side.
In Homecoming, Parker is back in New York and is still learning from Stark, though Iron Man seems a little less than thrilled with Peter's attempt to fight crime. In the comics, Spider-Man is teamed up with, well, pretty much everyone, but in past films, he's been mostly a solo act. Now he has a few more marvelous friends.
Shut the thing. Sorry, I love you. Don't hate me.
Oversharing is caring. Keeping your secret identity is usually the preferred method for superheroes. Protecting the ones you love by not revealing your identity is a smart move. It also makes sense when writing for comic books. If you essentially keep telling the same story for a few decades, soap operas with capes, it makes sense to keep the hero's true name under wraps from his friends and family. The mystery totally allows for a better narrative.
We sure showed him.
What do you mean, we?
But if you're making movies, you need to move some aspects of your character's life a little faster along. Having others know your secret is a great way to add drama and tension, which is exactly what would happen if a person in high school got superpowers. With everyone on some sort of social media, some kid gets gamma-infused powers, he's posting a video of the transformation. Plus, having Peter's best friend in on the secret allows him to have someone else to talk to when stuff hits the fan, or bird-like bad guys attack you. In Homecoming, Peter has Ned, played by Jacob Batalon. While Ned is definitely not Gonke, Miles Morales' best friend from the Marvel Ultimate Universe like fans had hoped, Ned still seems like a source of great advice for Spidey.
Where you from?
Queens?
Brooklyn.
New York City. The only thing more iconic than Peter Parker being Spider-Man is Peter Parker being a kid from the Big Apple. The bullpen of Marvel, where the writers and artists created a large majority of the characters you crave, was right in the heart of New York. Many of the creators grew up there, so they were able to pour more of themselves into the characters that also lived and worked in the city. Each version of Peter Parker has always had the amazing backdrop of the many boroughs of one of the largest and most diverse cities in the world. From the early comics, which showcased the city, to each big screen version, the city always seems to have its heroes back. In Spider-Man 2, the community gets behind Spider-Man as he uses everything he has to stop an out-of-control train, crowd-surfing him to safety. Homecoming proves no different, as Spider-Man needs to use all of his strength and Parker's smarts to keep an entire boat of New Yorkers from splitting in two, an act that looks pretty darn painful, even if you have the proportional strength of a spider.
Oh, God. Hey, buddy, I think you lost this.
Comic relief. Peter Parker isn't always funny. He's more a shy kid who keeps to himself, working on his inventions or taking pictures. When he puts on his mask, when he becomes his alter ego Spider-Man, his inner comedian unleashes. The dual identity of being a superhero is never more prevalent than in Spider-Man. Some people put on a mask and it allows them to be a slightly different version of themselves. Bruce Wayne is already an angry man, so Batman is just a dark version of the man wearing the mask. When Peter Parker puts on his spandex, however, he seemingly becomes a whole new person. His trademark comedic timing has been a staple since his early days in the comics, and Spider-Man Homecoming captures it perfectly. Spider-Man is not only annoyingly entertaining to his enemies, constantly talking to them during their battles.
Gotta say, that's awesome.
I don't know if you've been in a fight before, but there's usually not this much talk.
All right, sorry, my bad.
He uses it as a weapon, keeping the bad guys off guard, focused on his words, while his actions pack the punch to back up the mouth. Tobey Maguire was mildly funny, making a few light jokes, but was mostly adorably awkward. Garfield upped the ante, adding a Spidey that talked more, but came off a bit too cocky. Tom Holland nails the perfect combination of motor mouth madness with likability.
Unless Selvig has figured out how to stabilize the quantum tunneling effect.
Well, if he could do that, he could achieve heavy ion fusion at any reactor on the planet.
Finally, someone who speaks English.
Science Bro Jr. Peter Parker is super smart. Even with all his super strength and spider sense, he still took the time to invent himself web shooters and a variety of other gadgets to make his crime-fighting endeavors a little easier. The nerd who made good is the core of Peter Parker, and Spider-Man Homecoming gives him another big brain to pick, one half of the Science Bros. Throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we've seen a budding romance between Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. Smart people attract other smart people, and when you're on the Avengers with a Norse god and a super soldier, it's it's nice to be able to break down a periodic table with a pal. While Bruce Banner returns to theaters later this year in Thor Ragnarok, he's been off planet Earth, leaving Tony without a peer. Since the Incredible Hulk was missing, he found another brain to match his own, Peter Parker. That relationship is built on mutual admiration, even if Stark won't admit it. Parker looks up to a fellow genius, and Stark admires the kid's gumption. It's always nice when Peter has a mentor to encourage him to use his brain over his brawn. Until someone needs to be punched, of course.
She's the girl on your computer. Yeah, he's got you on his computer.
Ladies' man. Peter Parker has been called a lot of things, but rarely has he been called a ladies' man. Yet he always seems to be catching the prettiest girl in school in his web. Mary Jane Watson and Gwen Stacy are two females often associated with Peter. We've seen both portrayed on screen, with Tobey Maguire ending up with MJ and Andrew Garfield falling hard for Stacy. Oh my god, why would you make me say that? In the comics, Stacy is often represented as Parker's first love before she was killed off by the Green Goblin. Mary Jane Watson has been the longtime love of Spider-Man, including being married to him and then having that marriage erased. Oh, comics. One young lady that's often forgotten, though, is the very first gal to get Pete's attention, Liz Allen. She first appeared in the 4th issue of The Amazing Spider-Man, and while she didn't exactly shower Parker with affection, he sure thought she was swell. Without an obvious Gwen Stacy or Mary Jane in Spider-Man Homecoming, Liz Allen gets her turn in the spotlight, and it appears that Peter still has a high school crush on her, as he seems to be on the verge of a spider smooch in the trailer.
That was awesome!
Well, we think that this is the best version of Peter Parker that we've seen yet. What do you have to say? Let us know your favorite film version of Spider-Man in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more cool videos. Thanks for watching!